Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. I'm getting bombarded with requests right now to make a video about the July 16th, 2016 Christian gathering in Washington, D.C., put on by the Christian organization calling itself Pulse. And what I want people to know is I've already made a video on this topic. I put it out weeks ago. Every single day, I am asked to make videos on topics I've already covered. To learn how to see if somebody has a video on something, what you want to do is take the channel name you're searching for, type that channel name out. So for me, you would write Zachary K. Hubbard, and then the topic you're looking for, and just search the channel name plus the topic. The video will pop up. Sometimes you have to scroll down before you see it. If you search Zachary K. Hubbard, July 16th, 2016, that will bring up the video I already made. But you'll notice you'll have to scroll through the videos that say I'm a shill and some other ones that don't really fit. But the video's there. And I'm making this point because, again, every day people are asking me to make videos on topics I've already covered. Hey, Zach, how come you haven't made a video on September 11th? You know, people write that once a week. And I'm just thinking, my goodness, people, I have 5 videos on September 11th. You know, to be a better YouTube viewer, learn to use the search function. Don't just wait for videos to come up in your feed. I think that's how most people view on YouTube. Just whatever pops up on their screen, they're clicking on. You know, that's the kind of society that we don't want to be. Lazy, just accepting what's put before our face. My channel's about teaching intelligence and how to think and how to improve your standing in this world. So sometimes I have to rant about common sense things. But since people are requesting for me to make this video, I've gone back to the drawing board. I've done even more research to enhance the presentation. And what I'm about to show you should really answer a lot of questions you might have swirling in your head about this event. If you're new to my channel, I might say things that upset you. You know, just recognize I'm someone who doesn't expect everyone to agree with me. We're going to have differences in beliefs. Take away the main points that I make. And one of the ongoing themes on my channel is talking about religion and its real role in this world. Religion is not here to help us. It's very much like government. It is here to control our minds. It is here to put us in groups. It is here to divide us. It is here to cause needless strife. And I realize within religion there's good qualities. But overwhelmingly, religion does a lot more harm in this world than good. And there's a gang at the top that's very much aware of this and orchestrates events by the numbers that are meant ultimately to divide us further. And this Christian gathering in Washington, D.C., it has the potential to become one of those events. A lot of people are predicting a false flag attack, you know, probably blamed on ISIS to further the Christian Islamic divide. I'm not saying that any of that's going to happen, but what I am going to show you is that this date of this event, July 16th, the Christian gathering is happening on this date for a reason. So I want you to notice the event was first announced April 7th, a date that we write 4/7 in the United States of America. Anytime something's in the media, it is being put out by the gang of Freemasons and Zionist Jews. Even a Christian gathering. Think about the Christian Bible. What's in the front of it? The 39 books for the Old Testament that the Jewish faith goes by, then followed by the New Testament, 27 books. There's a reason the Jewish faith and the Christian faith share this book, and it's because the Christian religion was created by the same Jewish people. The Christian religion is not respected by the Jews because they know it's a contrived false religion that they created from older religions. And if you doubt that, just pay attention to what I'm going to show you in this video. So April 7th, 4/7, the word Christian in Gematria equals 47. The practice of Gematria is mostly a Jewish practice, the practice of coding numbers into words. This year on the 4th of July, we were mocked as a people. There was supposedly this probe going into orbit around Jupiter, And Google all day had up this Google Doodle with this thing rotating, supposedly supposed to be the probe. And when it did its rotation, it would form the word goy. And the word goy is a derogatory term for people who aren't Jewish. The Jewish people think they're God's chosen people. They think everyone else is inferior. And throughout time, they've very much been ruling over people, giving them false religions to live by, false laws to live by. That is what our existence is here in the United States. Unjust laws, fake religions, people praying to nothing, people waiting for nothing. All of this has been done to enslave us. And we're going to talk more about the word slavery in this July 16th gathering. But notice, the word goy has gematria 47, just like Christian, a very special number to the Zionists and the Freemasons. The Zionist state of Israel, established in the year 47, based on lies told to the goy, the non-Jews. Goy equals 47. They said that this went into orbit of Jupiter on July 4th, a date with 47 numerology. It was the first time July 4th had 47 numerology since July 4th, 1917. So it had been 99 years, a special occurrence. And just for the record, Independence Day equals 74. We write it 7/4 in the United States, the date. Independence Day equals 74. Jewish equals 74. Masonic equals 74. Zionism, Masonry, they go hand in hand together. And the tenets of Masonry are divide and conquer and order through chaos. And that's exactly how we're governed over by the numbers. On the date of September 11th, it was a divide and conquer by the numbers operation. 74 and 47, two of the most important numbers in that date. So, this is a gathering of the goy put on by the Zionists and the Masons in Washington, D.C. And it's always been Masons and Zionists who've controlled this nation. We'll talk about the significance of this date to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was recognized as a territory on July 16th in history, centuries ago. So, April 7th, 2016 was also a date with 47 numerology, same numbers as July 4th, dates that are interchangeable, 4/7, 7/4. Again, Christian 47, other 47 words, obey 47, judge 47, gavel 47, think about a judge with their gavel, authority 47, special number. The word agent equals 47. Those of you who play video games, that Hitman video game has agent 47. The word agent's 47. So is the word president. Find a lot of this number in government, places of authority. With regards to 74, the reflection of 47, another special number to Christianity, Judaism, and more. In the Quran, the spiritual figure is Muhammad. Muhammad equals 74. I predicted Muhammad Ali would die at age 74 2 years before it happened. He died on June 3rd, 6/3. The Prophet Muhammad in the Quran died at age 63. Cross equals 74, Jesus equals 74, Yeshua, the Greek spelling equals 74, Joshua, the English translation of Jesus, Yeshua, 74, Gospel 74, the first 4 books of the New Testament, the story of Jesus, Messiah 74, Jesus the Messiah, Masonic 74, Jewish 74, Occult 74. Out of the 50 states, only one sums to 74. It's Oregon, the 33rd state. Think about Jesus on the cross at age 33. Oregon, the 33rd state, the only that sums to 74. This rally announced on April 7th, which in most parts of the world is written 7/4. If you read Psalm 74 in the Bible, it's very revealing when you're aware of the coding of this language. The Bible is very much full of gematria and coded numbers. The Bible is written according to numbers. Some Christians think it's definitive proof that God wrote the Bible, but what it is really definitive proof of is Jewish people wrote the Bible. Jews are good with numbers. A lot of people say, hey, Zach, you look Jewish. And that's because I likely am Jewish. My dad doesn't know who his dad is. His dad got his mother pregnant and disappeared. And sadly, his mother's not certain who his father is. So, those are just the realities of the world we live in. When people come here and say, oh, you look Jewish, I don't trust you, that's a really arrogant point of view. You should judge a person based on what they're about, what their words are, what their message is. I'm sharing with you the truth of what's going on in this world. I'm not here to crush your beliefs. I'm here to show you what's really going on so that you can have a chance to think about things yourself. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm showing you what really has been done, and I'm letting you do the rest of the thinking for yourself. So many people in this world so into believing, judging, programmed responses. I'm trying to reintroduce actually thinking about things. So anyway, Psalm 74. O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Why does it feel like God shows so much hostility towards his people? How many people in the U.S. feel that way, especially Christians who pray and wonder why their prayers are never answered? The word amen equals 33. Number of Masonic obsession. Amen 33. That's pretty much what you're saying at the end of your prayers. 33. Remember the congregation which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion wherein thou hast dwelt. It's talking about God in terms of ownership, finances, money. The word God and the word dollar have the same gematria, and unless you live under a rock, you should know that the Zionists control the banks the same way they control the media, government, and more. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations, even all that the enemy hath done wickedly in the sanctuary. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations. They set up their ensigns for signs. Speaking of ensigns, signs, symbols, this nation has a lot of them. And within all of them, there's numerical encoding. Look at Washington, D.C., where this gathering is going to be. Here's the Pentagon, the War Department. It's 5-sided. It has 5 floors above ground, and it has a 5-acre court in the middle. And it sits across from the Washington Monument that's 555 feet tall. From the date of September 11th to the date we invaded Iraq, March 20th, 2003, that was 555 days, 555. Just like the number on the Pentagon, just like the number on the Washington Monument. They said Flight 77 hit the Pentagon on September 11th. The Pentagon's exactly 77 feet tall from the foundation to the top. It sits on the 77th meridian. 77th meridian, 77 feet tall. They said Flight 77 hit the building. If you write out September 11th in gematria, it sums to 77. This date of the meeting, July 16th, 16 in numerology is 1 plus 6. It becomes 7, 7. And if you do 7, 16, 16, it becomes all 7s. These numbers are all significant. Judaism equals 77. So does the word Christ. And there was a lot of Christ symbolism in September 11th. In New York, where the towers fell, they fell on the 74th meridian, buildings 1 and 2. They fell on September 11th, which was New Year's Day of the Coptic calendar. Some people argue that that's really Jesus' birthday. Those buildings existed from 68 to 2001, 33 years, coming down on the 74th meridian. Here in D.C., it's the 77th meridian, the American meridian. But these are all part of the reasons this gathering's happening on 7/7. Here's supposedly the guy who's putting it on, no doubt a Masonic slime. Notice that it says he is 33 years old. The guy putting this on, he works for this Christian group called Pulse Promise Keepers. 33 years old. His name's Hall. Hall, a name with 33 gematria. This happening on the 16th day in the year 16. The number 16 special, when you write it out, it sums to 33. The only other number that does that is 90, 90. Remember, Prince died on the Queen's 90th birthday. He was 57, 33 years apart. Not a coincidence. That was a symbolic event. I have videos on that. I also predicted Prince's death by understanding these numbers. Said he would probably die soon in February, the day Vanity died. So with regards to 33 and the Bible and Christians and Zionism, the Christian opposition within the religion is the Catholic Church, the CC 33. They said Christopher Columbus was paid for by the Catholic Church. Christopher Columbus, CC, who was Jewish. The Jewish people created the Catholic Church as a form of more controlled opposition within a religion that I am fairly certain they created themselves, But over time, they just need to find more and more ways to stir it up, control it, mock it. This goes on in a lot of ways in this world. It's more than religion. We live in a grand mocking. The people are always figuring out new ways to torment us further. But anyway, CC 33, Jesus supposedly started his ministry at the Sea of Galilee, which is a 33-mile circumference. Not only that, the word Galilee equals 33, just like Genesis, where the Bible begins in the Old Testament. Just like the age Jesus is supposedly crucified, some people say his name's Jehovah, Gematria 33. So with regards to the Old Testament, which the Jews go by, it has 39 books. 39 books in the Old Testament. This nation began with 39 signers on the Declaration of Independence. James Madison made 39 proposals that became the Bill of Rights. He did it on a date with 39 numerology. Madison in Gematria equals 39. There's Madison Square Garden in New York. New York equals 39. Its date of establishment, 39 numerology. MSG for Madison Square Garden equals 39. Very special number in this nation's history, and it is huge on July 16th. It's a date with 39 numerology. Right away, the date can also be written 16/7, which is a lot like 167, which is the 39th prime number. So date with 39 numerology plus that. It's also on the Jewish calendar the 10th day of Tammuz, and Tammuz is the 10th month of the Jewish calendar. So it's the 10th day, 10th month. Think about the 10 commandments from the Old Testament. 10 equals 39. It's the reason it's the address at Downing Street, 10 Downing Street. It's because the Zionists, the Masons, they're running the show worldwide. With regards to this being on the 10th month, the 10th day of the Jewish calendar, who go by the 39 books in the Old Testament, Revelation in Jewish Gematria equals 1010, and everything in this nation comes out of the book of Revelation. The original capital, Philadelphia, comes straight from the book of Revelation. The capital went from Philadelphia to New York to Washington, D.C., the three cities that have the major Revelation connections. Washington in Gematria equals the same thing as Revelation. Revelation is the final book of the New Testament that's based on the 39 books of the Old Testament. Some other words with 39 Gematria, pagan, Wicca. You look at all these Christian celebrations from Christmas to Easter and more, they mimic the pagan traditions. And most Christians in this nation, they just shrug their shoulders and go, well, that's the way I was raised. I'm not going to think much about it. I just believe everything I'm told to do. I really think so many people in this nation go through their entire life without ever really thinking about anything. Just believing and following the entire way, which is exactly what the Bible teaches. Believe, follow. Not much emphasis on thinking. From the date of the announcement of this Christian celebration to the date it's happening is 100 days. Also 3 months and 9 days. 3-9, a lot like 39. Washington D.C., located on the 38th parallel, just a hair off the 39th, and the 77th meridian. Jew equals 38, Judaism 77, Christ is also 77. They say the Jews crucified Christ for saying he was Christ. In the Bible it says that you weren't permitted to think you were a Christ within the Jewish faith. So Jesus, for saying he was the Son of God, crucified. That's the story from the Bible. Again, The date numerology breaks down to 777. This was true in the 7/7/2005 London bombings. London in the United States having some major parallels in world events right now. The phrase order out of chaos, a Masonic motto, has gematria of 777 in Jewish gematria. So keep that in mind should anything happen. They're calling this event Together, also Reset. Reset has gematria of 22. There are 22 books or chapters in Revelation. Revelation has 22 chapters. Reset equals 22. Together is also an interesting word. Together has gematria of 44, oftentimes a fateful number connected to killing. This comes in the time of the 44th president, this gathering. It also comes in the time of the election for the person who will become the 44th person to be president. Obama's number 44, but he's only the 43rd person to be president. The next president will be the 44th person. Some words with spiritual context that have 44 gematria: prophet, spiritual, karma, faith, hope. There's duality to all of these numbers. The other big hype for this event is fill them all. And what I see in this is with these letters right here, I see that I am coding, which was very big in September 11th, which was very big in the Orlando shooting, which I commented on even before it happened. I am is a Masonic motto. It's also a phrase used in the Bible. If you've never seen my work on September 11th and I am, check it out. I just see those letters standing out. The Invictus games had this backwards. I am without the other letters. You know, maybe it's a coincidence, but I'm just mentioning it should anything happen. However, this phrase, fill them all, is what really stands out. Fill them all has gematria of 239, a very special number to the Jewish faith. Torah equals 239, Golden Gate equals 239. In the Jewish faith, they believe the Messiah will arrive through the Golden Gate. Remember, Messiah equals 74, Jewish equals 74. The United States of America was just 239 years old. During the time it was 239 years old, the Pope came to the United States September 23rd, meeting with Barack Obama, a date that's written 23/9. That was the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. He took the White House lawn at 9:23 a.m. on September 23rd. What else stands out is in English gematria, it sums to 660. Revelation's the 66th book of the Bible. Talked about the Revelation coding. 110 also pops out because president equals 110. And honestly, I suspect that nothing will happen at this event, but I do think when the next big news story, the next big tragedy they scare us with occurs, I think it will be directly measured from these dates. These events are always synced up, and if you look at what's going on in the world right now, the Zionists and Masons are trying to divide people over race and divide people between Christianity and Islam. And like usual, the Jewish coding is all right there, but they hide behind the scene in the shadows. And nobody mentions their name because they're routinely told you can't speak against the Jews. You know, in countries such as France, you get imprisoned. But I think this event, it's going somewhere. You know, right now we're a nation where most people are Christians. They've been brainwashed to hate Islamic people. At the same time, most of them have no problem with the Zionists who mock them and have staged all these events to give them. Essentially what's happened is the Zionists hate the Muslims, and they've conditioned the Christians to have that same hatred through lies. Sadly, the word lie and the word God have the same gematria, and again, it's because these Masons and Zionists made our language, and when you lie, you can play God, as the people who control TV do. So speaking of igniting Muslims and Christians, you know, we got this story, December 2nd, 2015, more propaganda by the numbers. This came on a date with 49 numerology like Revelation. December 2nd, 2015 was a date with 49 numerology. from that date to July 16th is 227 days, and 227 is the 49th prime number. The 49th prime number, 227 is also a number that routinely shows up when tragedy is coded. Notice it's also 32 weeks and 3 days. Lucifer equals 323 in Jewish gematria, 74 in simple English gematria. This shooting on December 2nd was blamed on ISIS. Remember, a Middle Eastern couple inspired by ISIS online. And this is one of those propaganda events that's meant to anger people, provoke them, divide them over race. So from that event to the Christian gathering is 227 days. Here's 227, the 49th prime number of Revelation. Just for some more significance of 227, if you divide 22 by 7, pull out your calculator, you probably have it on your phone, divide 22 by 7. You will get 3.14, the number for pi. If you write 22 divided by 7 in gematria, it sums to 314, just like 3.14 for pi. Gematria, again, is coded into the English language. Our words are based on this numerical system, which all come back to the significant numbers of this world. Pi, one of the most important numbers. So many things in this world come back to pi, even our own language. If you've never seen the movie Pi, they introduced gematria, the significance of it in that movie. If you want a Hollywood example of what pi or what gematria is, check out the movie Pi, P-I. Came out in the 90s. If you count the end date, this is from December 2nd to July 16th is 227 days. If you count the end date, if you count December 2nd as well, it's a total span of 228 days. 228 is significant because United States of America equals 228, death equals 228. From the December 2nd San Bernardino shooting to the Pulse shooting, another propaganda events by the numbers where they said 49 people were killed, that was 193 days, which is the 44th prime number. Again, kill equals 44, so does shooting. A lot of the details coded with these same numbers. They always are in these shooting propaganda hoaxes. Both of these events blamed by people getting radicalized by ISIS online. This Islamic Christian divide narrative ongoing. A narrative that's been with us since even before September 11th. Beirut barracks bombing, the stuff's been going on for decades by the numbers. From the nightclub shooting in Orlando to the Pulse event, remember it was the Pulse nightclub, and this event's being hosted by Pulse Christian thingamajig, but the word Pulse stands out. Pulse has gematria of 73, just like United. United's kind of like together, the other motto for this. Anyway, from that event to July 16th is 34 days. Orlando equals 34, so does murder. The date of the Orlando shooting was a date with 34 numerology. July 16th is also typically the 197th day of the year, which is the 45th prime number, special number to the Bible, which the Christians go by, Holy Bible, gematria 45. This comes shortly before the election of the 45th president. The numerology of the date, we talked about the 39 numerology. It also has 59 numerology, which is a number which connects to killing. Kill equals 59 in Jewish gematria. Sums to 44 in simple English gematria, like together. 59, though, also has a lot to do with slavery. The word slave equals 59, Negro 59, Blues 59, Rasta 59. It's a number that's been stamped over black people predominantly. But at the same time, we have all been turned into a nation of slaves. Think about most of us. We work the 9 to 5. And I'm telling you, the powers that be have set up the world around us the way they want it to be by the numbers. Nothing has to be the way it is. We've just grown accustomed to this world that's been built around us, that we've been born into. For proof that the Bible was written by Freemasons as we know it, look at this. The original Bibles are called 42-line Bibles. New Testament has gematria 42, just like the word new itself. Freemason 42, Zionism 42. The Bible is so full of 42. The New Testament begins with the 42 generations leading up to Jesus. In Revelation, there's 42 months that the beast rules. 42 comes up again and again in the Bible. Common number, a number very important to Freemasonry, a number that's put before our eyes all the time. If you watch movies, you'll see how often 42 is shown on the screen. It's a trademark from the people who are the invisible architects of society, which the Freemasons pride themselves on being. The 42-line Bible, known as the Gutenberg Bible and the Mazarin Bible, look at this. Gutenberg equals the same thing as Holy Bible, 45. If you call it the Gutenberg Bible, it sums to 66, just like the number of books in it. 39 Old Testament, 27 New, 66 books long. In numerology, the most important number is 11. If you add every number up, 1 through 11, it sums to 66. To come back to September 11th for a second, New York's the 11th state. Those buildings, the World Trade Centers, were like massive 11s. They came down on the Coptic calendar, New Year's Day of the Coptic calendar. Coptic equals 66. Christians, the plural, has gematria of 66. Mazarin Bible equals 58, just like Freemasonry. The New Testament begins with Matthew. There's 27 books in the New Testament. Matthew equals 27. What's special about 27 is it's 3 times 3 times 3. 3 cubed. The first 4 books of the New Testament are considered the gospel. Luke is one of those books. Here I just want to read from Luke. Whoops, let me pull this up. Let me make me smaller. So this is Jesus, a testament of Jesus from the book of Luke. Here's what it says. And he began teaching in their synagogues and was praised by all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as was his custom, he entered the synagogue on the Sabbath, Saturday, Sábados in Spanish, and stood up to read. The Jewish people, they go to synagogue on Saturday. And originally, in the Bible, you're supposed to worship on Saturday too. It's the Catholic Church that changed the day of worship to Sunday. He entered the synagogue on the Sabbath and stood up to read. And the book of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. And he opened the book and found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set free those who are oppressed, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. In the Jewish faith, they're calling this year the year of light. And he closed the book, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down, and the eyes of all in the synagogue were fixed on him. And he began to say to them, Today this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing. And all were speaking well of him, and wondering of the gracious words which were filling from his lips. And they were saying, Is this not Joseph's son? Jesus is the son of Mary and Joseph. And he said to them, No doubt. You will quote this proverb to me, Physician, heal yourself. Whatever we heard was done at Capernaum. Do here in your hometown as well. And he said, Truly I say to you, no prophet is welcome in his hometown. But I say to you in truth, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the sky was shut up for 3 years and 6 months. 3 years and 6 months? 3 years is 36 months, plus 6 more months is 42 months. When a great famine came over all the land. Remember, 42 months that the beast will rule in Revelation. And yet Elijah was sent to none of them, but only Zarephath in the land of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow. And there were many lepers in Israel in the time of Elisha the prophet. And none of them was cleansed, but only Naaman and Syrian. And all of the people in the synagogue were filled with rage as they heard these things. And they got up and drove him out of the city, and led him to the brow of the hill on which their city had been built, in order to throw him down the cliff. But passing through their midst, he went his way, and he came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and he was teaching them on the Sabbath. And they were amazed at his teaching, for his message was with authority. In the synagogue there was a man possessed by the spirit of an unclean demon, and he cried out with a loud voice. In other words, truth seeker, it was then as it is now. People couldn't handle the truth. They wanted to kill a man for speaking the truth. The people who've given us these spiritual texts, they have laced them with the truth of this world, and they have coded their numbers all over it. And really, it's all part of a grand mocking. They realize by giving people half-truths and forcing them to believe through fear, it cripples them. It makes them wait for a savior, just as most Christians do in this nation. So many people come to my channel and write, Zach, this is all in vain because all you can do is wait for the return of Jesus. These people think that God created us just for us to wait for the return of his son. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, if you really start to think about things and look at what's written in the Bible, look at the way things are now, to me it all seems very clear. It's all about division. Here's Acts 14:1-2. This is Old Testament. In Iconium, they entered the synagogue of the Jews together and spoke in such a manner that a larger number of people believed, both of Jews and Greeks. But the Jews who disbelieved stirred up the minds of the Gentiles and embittered them against the brethren. Because nobody in the history of humanity has ever been in complete agreement. And when people start dividing and fighting over their differences instead of uniting over what's common, that's where the beginning of the end starts. So Jesus, in Acts 19, and he entered the synagogue and continued speaking out boldly for 3 months, reasoning and persuading them about the kingdom of God. But when some were becoming hardened and disobedient, speaking evil of the way before the people, he withdrew from them and took away the disciples, reasoning daily in the school of Tyrannus. If you speak truth, you're going to be demonized. You're going to have to watch what your circle of influence is. You're going to have to protect yourself. It's been true since the time of Jesus in the Bible. The same thing goes on today. I'm someone who's enlightening the world about all this hidden knowledge, and I've had a lot of destructive things happen to me. I've been harassed by the police department. I've had my home burglarized and destroyed. I've been jailed. I've been receiving letters in the mail, threats. My message is that more people need to start being like Jesus instead of believing in Jesus. Believing in Jesus, praying, that doesn't do anything. You Christians who can't see that, you need to take the blindfold off. Look at all the Christians praying and look at how the world gets worse every day. Praying's easy. Folding your hands, believing, that's easy. Going out and doing something, that's what measures your worth. That's what's challenging. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You read these other verses, synagogue, courts, same world we live in right now. A world run by Zionists and a corrupt legal system. Gematria is based on the alphabetic order. English and Gematria both sum to 74. Supposed to write that up here. English and Gematria 74. These are old world practices, as old as the Bible. Practice of coding. Numbers into words. The Bible is supposedly published on the date March 22nd, 1457, the 42-line Bibles, the Gutenberg Bibles. That date can be written 22/3, Masonic equals 223. It says in Revelation, the final book of the Bible, the false Jews, the Zionist Jews, will rule in the end times. Their nickname is the Synagogue of Satan, gematria of 223. Number coded all over our history, the Star-Spangled Banner 223, and so much more. Here's some other notable dates in July 16th history. In 622, it was established as the beginning of the Islamic calendar. I think they have a floating calendar, so that's probably not true every year. Just like, their holidays line up with what's going on in the world of astrology. Ramadan was different dates last year than it is this year. Last year, Ramadan ended on July 16th. This year, it ended on July 5th. It's true with Christianity, Jewish holidays. Most people in their religion never think about it. They just follow the schedule they're given. But also, July 16th, 1790, the date the District of Columbia was established. That's a date with 130 numerology. The word Washington, the big way, equals 130. So much of Washington, D.C. has 130 coding, as well as George Washington himself. Cover all that in my book. Interesting that this date in history has connections to the atomic bomb. Little boy was on a boat departing San Francisco. Also the date that the Manhattan Project tested their first plutonium-based bomb. Plutonium is Pu-239. Remember, Fill the Mall has gematria of 239. And that was the year 45. Like Holy Bible, these people think they're fulfilling prophecy. The Bible ends with the destruction of the world. And these people at the top, they're mad. It's hard to say just how far they'll take us. But knowing that they're following the Bible, we know where the Bible ends. This day has history in World War II. Following token resistance, the city of Nazareth, revered by Christians as the hometown of Jesus, capitulates to Israeli troops during Operation Dekel in 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The Zionist state of Israel recognized in 47. This war, part of that aftermath. Religion, divide and conquer. Zionists teaching Christians to hate Muslims. This date has a connection to the space landing, which was a hoax. Pair that up with the recent Goy mocking with the Juno Jupiter mission. Watergate scandal. You know what the Watergate scandal was? It was a controlled narrative to make it so Americans think that justice is upheld when there's wrongdoing. When really that story was nothing, Just an example to make people think there's justice out there. And last year there was the shooting on the final day of Ramadan. Show you this from my book. This is a draft chapter. This chapter goes through all of the shooting hoaxes and U.S. history that have been presented in the media. The date of this shooting last year, July 16th, 2015, a date with 58 numerology like Freemasonry, also like Jade Helm. Remember the military drill Jade Helm was going on. A date with 38 numerology like Death, also like Jew, like Masonic. They said the shooter's name was Muhammad Yusuf Abdulaziz, which has the same gematria as the word prophet. Muhammad the Prophet. This was the final day of Ramadan, the most important holy period in the Islamic faith. Chattanooga, Tennessee, very interesting name in gematria, sums to 211, the 47th prime number, Christian 47. Again, this is about pitting Muslims against Christians. Muhammad equals 74, the reflection. Tennessee has the same gematria as prophecy. Chattanooga, the same gematria as Zionism and Masonry. Tennessee also has the same gematria as Ramadan. Ramadan equals 52, just like Tennessee. The shooting happened 52 days before the shooter's 25th birthday. Ramadan's 25 the small way. The word Muslim also has gematria of 24. The shooter was supposedly 24 years old. I'll link this information if you want to read more about this shooting, but this did happen last year on July 16th, the end of the Muslim holy period. This year, a big Christian celebration on this date. We'll see if there's a continuation of the propaganda pitting Christians against Muslims. It's possible, but it seems to me that they have other things lined up for us closer to the election. So for all the channels out there saying that this is going to be the event that sets off the FEMA camps and military or martial law, we're not there yet. If there's going to be an event, it's not going to be that big. We have time until we get to that day. These people are leading us to the cliff, but we could still be decades away from that. We move at the pace of a slow boil. For those of us who are aware of the boil, though, it becomes tormenting. That's why so many people think the end is near. They've been feeling all this torment. What else could be near, they think? Sadly, a lot more torment. To wrap this up, they also just came out with this headline today. Their Congress is supposedly going to release a 28-page report detailing Saudi Arabia's involvement in September 11th. If you remember the official story, they said that almost all the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, one of our allies. 60 Minutes, a couple months after the attack, also documented that Israelis were here who documented the attack, were dancing in New Jersey, got arrested and sent back to Israel. So our allies were participating in September 11th. Israel was here documenting, recording. Saudi Arabia, people supposedly hijacking planes, crashing them in. And we never went to war with those nations. We've continued to send them billions of dollars in aid. But anyway, the reason this propaganda is coming out, that it's going to be a 28-page report, is because of the significance of 28. The World Trade Centers were open for 28 years. They existed for 33 years. Construction began in 68, the same year 911 was made the National Emergency Dialing Code, the same year World Trade Center construction began, the same year George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, the same year Space Odyssey 2001 came out. 33 years later, Bush would become president and 9/11 would happen. Bush's birthday is also a span of 68 days before September 11th. But anyway, 28 and 33, the only two numbers that sum to 156, just like false flag. False flag, the small way equals 33. If you write out 33, it sums to 156 like false flag. The number 911 is the 156th prime number. The firm that built the World Trade Centers is from Seattle, the 47th parallel. Their name in gematria sums to 156. Magnuson Klemenkic Associates. They built a structure that lasted for 33 years and came down on 9/11. What it goes to show is it's the Freemasons coding out, even appointing construction firms within their fraternity of wrongdoers to build the monuments that are meant to be taken down. The World Trade Centers were built with their planned destruction September 11th, 2001. Can't emphasize it enough. Grand lies that day, and lies about spreading division among religion. They're also calling tomorrow the Day of Rage. I've never heard of this before. There's headlines about this. The Day of Rage tomorrow. It's interesting that Day of Rage has the same gematria as The Purge. They're putting out these movies where legalize killing. United States has gematria of 157, 15/7, the Day of Rage in the United States. So anyway, Truth Seeker, that's pretty much the message, People need to wake up and see what religion is. That's really what my message is. To recognize that we live in a day and age where we live in a world of lies, deceit, misinformation, fear-mongering. And religion, it's never going to be part of the solution. Being spiritual, living by the golden rule, seeing what's wrong in the world and trying to do something about it, these are the things people need to be about. Being about religion and belief, that just causes needless division. And, last year at this time, I put out a video called The Message 2015. And for putting out that video, it was a video about unity, uniting over no matter what our beliefs are, finding our common ground, and fighting back together. After I made that video, a bunch of videos were released about me, attacking me, and they were all made by people who said they were Christian. Russian Vid's one of these people who continues to slander me and just make up baseless attacks saying I'm a Satanist, saying I'm a Freemason. I've never been a Freemason. I'm definitely not a Satanist. You know, Russian Vids thinks he's holier than thou because he claims to be a Christian. But recognize that this is someone who trolls my blog, trolls my YouTube channel, copies my content, takes the content that I create and credits it to himself, and then make videos slandering me. If Russian Vids is someone who thinks he's going to go to heaven or some nice place because he believes, he's going to find out that he's sadly mistaken. What do you think God would ultimately care about? You being a good person, or you just having some belief in a book that was made? Russian Vids is not a good person. He's everything that's wrong with the world. And some religious people, they say, yeah, Zach, you're right about religion, but if it wasn't religion, it would be something else. And I'll acknowledge that. Here's Polarization Nation. He's not religious, but he's someone who's just like Russian Vids. He's someone who takes my content, tries to use it for his own work. What he did around the Super Bowl time was he took gematria that he learned from my website and he put it into this crazy video saying that because of this, it means that the Super Bowl is going to explode and the East Coast is going to be wiped out by a tsunami. And if you're in these areas, you better take caution because I guarantee these things are happening. So he put out this video using some of my knowledge, but making these crazy predictions. And at the same time, he also put out another video saying that I was a plagiarist stealing his work. It was just absolute lunacy, The only reason I even found out about this guy is because people were alerting me to what was going on and people were trolling my channel. But anyway, the point is, we already have enough things to divide us. Religion just causes more divisiveness. It makes people want to fight needlessly. We need to get over our egos. Some people come here and say, Zach, you're so arrogant, but recognize what I am. I'm really nice to everybody. I take the time to help everybody. When people start demonizing me, attacking me, I fight back, Show you some other videos that came out last year after I put out the video, The Message 2015, and this guy Dave Johnson starts attacking me for not being a Christian, where my whole video is about unity. And then, people like this, the super Christian comes along, and he just regurgitates what Russian Vids puts out in his video, a complete slander job. It just shows you what Christianity does. It weakens the brain, it makes you a believer, it makes you a follower. All of the Christians who follow these lies about me, they haven't taken the time to research themselves. They're just believing what they hear from other Christians. And, these are all prime examples of why Christianity, religion is not the way. Zachary K. Hubbard was Joshua Greenberg. Another video attacking me because I'm not a Christian and making more baseless, nonsensical accusations, Here's a guy who comes out and says I must be a shill because I'm not Christian, but then he says in his own video he's a Mormon. And anybody who's read the Christian Bible knows that if you change the Bible, that's an act that'll get you sent to hell. And that's exactly what Mormonism is. The world of religion just doesn't make sense, Religion is about believing, not thinking, buying into nonsensical bullshit. And the people at the top, they know it. That's why they mock. That's why the word goy matches the word Christian. All right, truth seeker, until next time.